Yeah, welcome to Coffee and Cannabis. I'm your host Eliza, and this is.
Corey, what up?
And you already know we back with another one, a very very special one because of course it's March, it's Women's Month, and today we got Big PA, Pennsylvania, bringing the noise, Miss Kristal Bush of Free My Weed Man. Please give it up. Yes, yes.
Yes.
But you already know. Before we get into it, for our coffee, we got the bodega special, but I got a special cup.
Oh, you trying to be fancy?
I got a special cup now because some things have changed. Shout out to Dr. Baker for this love. And Corey, what we smoking on?
You are spoken on Pie Till I Die, and I'm spoken on Candyland. I don't know what Crystal's smoking on.
I'm smoking on African Thai,
Nice. African Thai.
smooth sativa.
Okay, all right. And
You got one of your damn camo thingies.
yes, I was about to say I'm trying the watermelon today. I don't smoke tobacco. I smoke hemp. I'm not really a big fan of papers. I will smoke
Okay.
papers if they're around and I don't have nothing else, but I really prefer hemp.
I'm a paper girl.
You're a baby girl?
Paper.
I smoke leaf.
These new wraps called Camo. I've been trying them out, and Corey's been making sure I get all the flavors. So this time I got watermelon, but it's pretty dope. It burns slow. It's made out of chamomile. I always give you guys you know what? Someone needs to call me. You need to cut a check.
Yeah, you be talking some shit. We don't be getting no bread from it.
A big plug. But listen, I'm so happy to have you here for Women's Month. You've been, making a lot of noise and doing a lot of great things in the space, but particularly in the advocacy space.
Yes.
So I definitely want to talk about Free My Weed Man and jump into that, but can you just give me like a little bit of the backstory of how you got here? Like what made you say, I want to get into cannabis? What inspired this movement?
Sure. I think many of us got an interesting journey as how we entered into cannabis. As for me, I had a prison van service. It was called Bridge and Gap Transportation, where I reunited family members with their incarcerated loved ones. So I did that for about 10 years, reunited over 3,500 families. And that was actually started just due to all the men in my family, they were incarcerated. My father served 25 years. My brother was in and out. And then I had another brother. I ended up adopting his son because my brother was locked up and his mom was in and out of prison too. So
How many brothers do you got?
2,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. So all the men in your family.
So all the men in my family, cousins, I got cousins that serve in life. So I did that service for about, 10 years. And it was one of those type of services where you start questioning if you are really solving a problem. Because anytime that you do advocacy or anytime that you create a service that is up against this whole criminal legal system, you kind of feel at times defeated. So
That's very true.
I was, starting to question how was I measuring my success. Yes, I had 4 vans and, all the seats on my vans was full, but the women who were riding my service were really paying the cost of mass incarceration. You got the women that is using, their first of the month check, SSI, for phone time, commissary, using the last to get on these vans. And it was like, this is not success for me.
Right.
So when the men in my family ended up coming home, I wasn't prepared. I didn't have the resources to help them. I had to go from this daughter role to this caregiver role for my father and teach him on how to drive a car again, teach him how to get a birth certificate, just the basics. And I ended up shutting the van service down, and it was a few months before COVID. And then when COVID happened, I needed that break. And, started going to therapy, and I'm, telling my therapist, like, I don't know what's the matter with me. Like, I'm depressed, I'm stressed out. And, of course, the first thing that they want to do is, put you on all this medication. So I was diagnosed with PTSD and anxiety, and they just wanted to, put me on medication. I was like, well, I smoke, and, that make me feel good. And, that's when she actually told me, like, you can get your medical marijuana card. So as I got my medical marijuana card, that's when I didn't even realize that we had dispensaries, like in our neighborhoods. And that's when I really was just introduced to like the legal side of it, and I just started digging deep. I started going to the dispensaries. I started realizing that, people in my family or in my community didn't even know that they can actually get a license, or get a medical marijuana card. So I started like helping people get their medical marijuana cards. So that's where it really started. The people who wrote my service, it was like, hey, I'm not doing the transportation business no more, but I am in the cannabis industry. I don't know what I'm doing yet, but I just started organizing like these pop-up parties where patients would come, and I'll have a doctor on site. You can get your medical marijuana card, and that's when folks was started sharing their stories. Like, hey, I was locked up, and I just started like really just digging deeper into just the advocacy, and I had to stop doing the pop-up parties because my house ended up getting raided. I was at MJ BizCon. I believe this is what? Yeah, I was at MJ BizCon. I think this was like 2021. I was at MJ BizCon that year, and I'm looking on my Ring camera, and my house is getting raided, and they're taking out 10 pounds of CBD, but they're thinking it is weed, So that's where really Free My Weed Man was birthed, because, here it is. I'm trying to, figure out my place within this industry, but yet I'm still getting criminalized for this. So I was up one night high, and I was like, preparing for court, and I'm like, man, free my effing weed, man. And I was like, wait, free my weed, man. So that's kind of like how the thought came about. But it was really at a point where I was just kind of like fed up. Like, I can't afford to go to jail. Like, everybody in my family, all the men in my family went to prison, but I really can't afford to. And here it is. I was having these parties throughout Philly in Philly, at secret locations, and I was now being a target, and all I was trying to do was help people get their medical marijuana card and have a safe space for them to consume.
So
And
free my weed man is actually like free my weed man, like
Yeah.
not like I thought you were literally saying like I need to free like the weed man.
so a lot of people think that this campaign is just specifically for like weed men.
Incarceration.
Yeah, incarceration. But when we look at the war on drugs actually disrupted the entire family. It's not just the individual that was sent to prison. It's the mother. It's the children. And I think a lot of times we don't highlight the women that really holds it down. And we actually pay the cost. So yeah, free my weed man is like free my weed, man. Like, free us.
Yeah.
Free the
And it's not
weed.
free to the plant. Yeah, like
Yeah.
free the weed, like free the plant from all of the adverse effects that goes beyond just simply incarceration.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really a ripple effect.
Yeah.
You said you said a lot. I have a lot of things that I wanna dig on because first things first, just the concept of like how you learned about the medical program and that you can get a card. And then you said, wait, a lot of people in my community don't even know that this is not only that this is legal, but that you can get a card for it. And now let me throw parties to expose this information. That this is touching so many really like trending concepts right now, right? Like the age of information and how we are expanding our information to our communities and being the resources that we needed by sharing the information. But then also just the disparity of our communities not knowing about legal programs and legal cards for substances for those programs, yet we're getting arrested all the time. It's the most bizarre notion.
Yep. I think for me, just any initiative, any business that I started, I always started with the community, and I start with the community because that's my therapy and that's my healing. So the van service, me riding those vans, I needed to go see my own family. So why not bring people? Why not build a community of women that I can lean on and, for support? And the same thing with, having those parties, like having the parties and teaching people on how to get their medical marijuana card, or even just exposing them to an industry that they didn't know existed. And that's my therapy. The same with Free My Weed Man. that was, is me building a community
Right.
because here it is. My house just got raided. I need to,
Right.
I went back to the block and started, reaching out to all the weed men. Like, oh, you sell weed? I need you.
Yeah.
I need you. I need you. Because, like, we really need to come together, And we be in the town halls. Like, I just had a town hall the other day, and you'd be surprised. Like, a lot of the weed men, they effed up. Like, they really are effed up around, like, just how they've been doing this, but they tired. And I think when we think about just rolling out, like these states rolling out like their cannabis program, we got to make sure that the information is accessible to those type of people, and we have to make sure that they're in a mindset where they can dissect all the information that's coming at them.
What do you think we need to do to bridge that gap? Because I'm finding that that's one of the greatest issues. Like, even those that are learning about the information, especially like those from the legacy space, they are great at running a business, especially a cannabis business, right? They've been doing it for years. But from the legal side of things, and when it gets very complex with the jargon and just some of the nuance work of the legal aspect of it, what do you think needs to happen to bridge that gap?
So I know right now in PA, what I'm doing is I'm preparing a weed man, not even just for a license, like a brand. Like, you are your brand. Like, these licenses is so, difficult. And, of course, certain people, yes, go after the licenses. We deserve to, have those licenses. But a lot of the women that I'm working with, I know they don't really even have the mental capacity to learn all of that, But they can create a brand, and that brand can be into these stores. And now,
Right.
here it is. You can tell your whole block to pull up to this dispensary.
Right.
Like, you don't got to pull up to the block no more. Like,
Right.
come to this dispensary. So I think if we start really meeting people where they are, a lot of things are just, it's they using all these words, and it's just meet people where they are.
I think that's a fair point to make, and probably an unpopular opinion. However, I think we want things to happen so fast. We go, all right, this community was harmed, and we know we need to fix this. So let's just make this process to give all of these folks these licenses. But it's like there's so much in between that is not done, right? The educational component, the financial component, the know-how. Like you just said, there's just too much to learn. And I swear, I'm not trying to sound negative, but the reality is that just think of it in this way. In this process, just in particular of what we're going through, just today, Corey and I dealt with something that had to do with construction. There are so many pieces of that we needed to be able to comprehend to, one, know how to even talk to the contractor about the problem, to know if you're getting, somebody's dicking you around, right? Like, they're not giving you the right information. If you just have to be there to understand, like, even the inspector being able to know that I knew what I was talking about and go, you know what, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, like, even sometimes if you have this like confidence, even if it's like pseudo confidence, but to just be able to be like, oh yeah, I'm so aware of what, like, if you're timid in the space, you're not going to be able to exude that. And all of these small things, right? Being able to know how to speak in front of a council. It's not that we can't get there. It's that we can't get there in the time frame that they're allotting. And it's just too much work, too fast. But you know what we are great at? Exactly what you just said. Being creative, making great brands, doing all the things that especially
We are
MSO.
the culture.
Thank
Like,
you.
we're the culture.
That's it. That's it.
Honestly, even if they do take up and have take all the licenses, we are the culture. And I think once we realize our power, and we realize and we understand that we are the driving culture that's going to drive, people into these dispensaries, then I think, people have a better chance of like where they fit in. But to really even just back it up a little bit, as far as like how can we bridge that gap, I think a lot of it is just us identifying the victims. When we think about a war, people died. People died over this. People were sent to prison over this. And we need to identify the victims, and we need to ask those victims, what is it that they want? Right. Many of them do not want a license. Many of them, they're not even in a good space to receive a license. Right. But how do we create different programs that set those people up. You know, it can come through as first time home buyers. You know, programs.
Down payments.
Yeah.
Yep.
It can come through as
Yep.
free education.
Yep.
If your parents were incarcerated and you were a child, now you go to school for free. So I think we got to get out of the idea of just, okay, you weren't impacted, so you get a license. And that's,
Which is, again, maybe another unpopular opinion, but it's very similar to the military. And it's what we do for military folks, right? We give them a VA loan so that they could have an easier process to buy a home. We give them free education. I say them like it's not fucking me. But, you know, like, there are benefits that come with that. And now, granted, you know, the war on drugs was unwarranted, right? A lot of the wars that we go through in the military is sort of the same, but this one was absolutely unwarranted, right? So these creative ways that you're expressing is like, yeah, I everybody doesn't want to do this business. Everybody doesn't want. The other thing is like, yeah, you're helping people get a license easier. The shit ain't easy. Sometimes people don't want this fucking stress.
And it's expensive.
and it's expensive.
Like if you've been on the block hustling, unless you turn into Pablo, like you probably don't have the funds to do it. Because at some point in the process, and Martha talked about this, you got to stop doing what you're doing on the street,
Right.
because now they watching you for you to
Yep.
get a license anyway.
Yep.
So your money's gonna dry up if that's how you was getting it. So sometimes it's just about one, the know it all, the wherewithal, and the amount of work and nonsense that goes into it, paperwork and lawyers and stuff. It's also dumb expensive.
Yep.
And it's not for everybody. You've heard me blatantly tell people, they're like, "Oh, I want to do this." It's like, don't.
Yeah.
I want to start a grow. It's like, you got a couple million?
Yeah.
Well, nah. It's like, then don't.
Yeah.
Go work at one. Just
Yeah.
be a master grower for someone. But like, sometimes it's about taking your knowledge and getting a good job and working your way up.
Right.
No, I've worked in mad CPG industries, as consumer product and goods. None of them promote faster than cannabis.
Right.
Like,
That's
people
true.
shit on MSOs. Go work at an MSO, come to work every day, work hard, and have a little bit of knowledge. You'll be promoted within a year in cultivation. People don't realize that. You'll go to a lead, to a supervisor. There are managers in cannabis making six figures, don't have a college degree, just came from the legacy space. Right? And sometimes it's just that. It's being able to whether get your record clean enough or just be able to understand and have your life set up in a way that you can actually go to work every day to just like get me right so I can go work and have a job and not have my CBI, my criminal background investigation, all that come back where it's going to bump me and me not be able to get my ATC card for Jersey. But, you know, different things. You have to do the background checks. The other cool thing is, like, when you talk about a brand, and Eliza knows, that's the number one thing I tell people to go do. They're like, I want to get in the cannabis space. Start a brand.
Yep.
Get an IG, a X, or whatever. Pump your brand, make your brand. Buy you some packaging. Packaging is cheap. You can get on Alibaba. Design you a logo.
Giving the whole play.
Give me the whole play. Yo, here's real facts. Here's IP. Free IP for y'all. Pennsylvania's dumb big. To go from one corner of the state to the other corner of the state is 6.5 hour drive. It's hundreds of licenses in Pennsylvania, but even the people that have licenses like MSOs don't really want to wholesale and do the work in Pennsylvania because it's a pain in the ass and the state is really fucking big, right? So basically, you got Scranton to Pittsburgh to Philly. That's the whole state. It's a triangle. You go Erie, Pittsburgh, Philly, Scranton, right? And it's 100 fucking cultivation licenses in between. I would make a brand, and I'd be the dude that go to all these different grows. Yo, let me just see your weed, and let me hand pick what weed I like, and then I would do deals with them. You get the MSO that's willing to package your shit and use your brand and licensing. Make them buy from the different grows for the specific strains you want, so that your specific brand has strains that no one else has because they're coming from different places. You don't have to own a cannabis license to do that. You just got to get in your whip and drive and build packaging. It's free IP. It's a full brand with a couture collection of weed that you have sourced weed, couture. These are all the buzzwords you need. No fucking license needed. Not $1 million down. You could do that for $1,000 and some gas.
Yeah.
The other good thing, especially about you being here, is that PA is not adult use yet.
Next year.
So
next year.
people have time right now to really get it started, and I hope that I hope that we are a lesson, because I had said this to Corey when we had first started. I was like, we're gonna be honest. We're gonna show the process. We're
Yeah.
gonna say what's happening. You know, we came up with this podcast shortly after, and I think, I mean, outside of the anticipation that we have for our dispensary, is like we built a tribe. We built people that resonate with the brand. Like that's what branding is about. Like finding the market, the audience that you're talking to.
Yeah.
And people have had time to see what we're about, see what we're talking about, come to our meet and greets. Like, I know that it's tough to put the brand out there, especially when things are sort of like not started yet. But if you can build it ahead of time and really start, they're going to be ready to go. And to Corey's point, the MSOs, like, they don't want to do the work. So they're like, oh, you've been rocking for a year now, 2 years now. You got this brand going. Like, yeah, come on, let's put you on these shelves and boom, easy day.
Because that's honestly, even with Free My Weed Man, it started off as a hashtag. But as I built it, the community defined it. Like, the community was letting me know that they wanted a nonprofit. They're like, well, do you have any board positions? I'm like, board positions? This is a hashtag. Like, what? I didn't have no, intentions on turning this into a nonprofit.
Talk about that.
Yeah, so it started off as like a hashtag. It was just like, Free My Weed Man. And from there, just put it on a shirt. And when I put it on a shirt, I vended at, I launched at National Cannabis Fest in D.C. Back in, 2021. And from there, the people went...
2021?
Yeah, the people went crazy.
Fuck.
They went crazy. And
great.
I'm one of them type of people, because I had a business before. I understand that if your business scale up too fast, too soon, then it can fail too. And I was in an uncomfortable place where everybody was just trying to what you going to do? Is it a nonprofit? Are you doing expungements? And it's just like, I don't know. Right now, I'm just, putting it on clothes and, I'm just getting a feel. Like, I'm not rushing it. And slowly but surely, the community started, letting me know what it is that they needed. They needed the expungements. They needed the town halls. They needed more information on how to get into the industry. And that's how it went from a hashtag to streetwear brand to now a nonprofit.
That's dope.
Because the community, I allowed the community to define it.
That's dope.
That's natural.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's also how you allow purpose and alignment, right? To sort of be the guide in what you're doing. Yeah, that's dope.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Like, even when I vend at, this was the first time when I seen you guys at NECAN, like, just even that is taking full advantage, having a sign that everybody hold a picture.
Yep.
And honestly, if you don't support Free My Weed Man, it got me questioning on your stance.
What's good with you?
So I love when I'm at, conferences and I'm like, hey, you want to take a picture? And they're like, no. Like, oh, okay. I understand what side you're on.
Right.
So I love it. Yeah.
And they be at the conventions like a tribe, dog. They be running down. Yeah. I think our booth was 2 booths from them, 2 booths over.
But
I was like, they lit.
Surprising, it's only me and my social media manager, but you would never know because it's a community of people that just be like, oh, y'all there? All right.
Yeah.
We helping.
They run down on you.
That's incredible. That's incredible.
It's the community. I'm like, hey, we trapping out of the,
They ran down on me. I hadn't had my coffee yet. I was like, I gotta give I'm right there. I'm coming back. Just let me get my coffee right. I got a booth I gotta set up. Y'all gotta give me a second. No, but that's dope. No, that's natural.
Yeah.
Going back to the other piece that you had mentioned about the first business you had. First off, very creative. Like, to say, I got to go up there to see my family, might as well start this business that I allow other people to, hop in the ride too. I love when, that's how you know that you always sort of had an entrepreneurial mind, a person who is making a business out of finding solutions for people.
Yeah.
Right. But I think something also that happened here, and I'm not sure if you were conscious of this, this is just what I'm thinking of, but like, as your vibration was raising, like, you were just like, this business is not, this is a non-productive service that I'm offering. Like, yes, in one light, you can look at it like I'm going up there, so I'm helping other people. But in another, you're like, I'm perpetuating the fact that we're even going up there.
Right.
Like, why are we, this is the problem in the first place.
It's not the root cause. It's an effect of it, but it's not the root cause. Then you decide to change it and skip to the root cause.
Insane to have that revelation, to be the person on now both sides of that experience.
Yeah.
And then to change your business, like to be somebody that I'm sure was making pretty decent money. You're saying you did it for quite a few years, 10 years, right?
Yeah.
And then say, this is not what I want to promote. This is not what I want, you know, my legacy or, you know, whatever to be about. Let me find a constructive way to do this. Incredible.
Yeah,
Like, I don't
thank
know if
you.
anybody realizes how profound that is, but to stop a money-making business and say, this is not the right way to make money, this is a problem in itself, let me use my forces for good, incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I think it. Thank you. I think a lot of times, like when we build businesses, of course, it's like if the money's coming in, it's paying the bills. Let's just keep going.
Right.
But it was a point where I was not able to scale up because of the population that I was serving. The population that I was serving, they didn't have it for me to scale up. And I didn't feel right scaling up. So as gas was increasing and the maintenance fees were increasing, I just started applying for grants. And that's how I'm like, okay, let me just get a nonprofit, get some grants to cover this. But then I also had to realize that this was only a small piece of this problem that I was solving, and it needed to be more programming as far as like the people that were on the inside. It needed to be more programming as far as like just caring for the caregivers in the community. And I just didn't have the mental capacity, like, because I was in it. Like this business was so close to like my trauma, where it was just like, I just don't have it in me to create something else. But it is such a need-based business, Our people are still getting locked up. They deserve to have their family members go up and visit them.
Right.
But it has to be, at a good cause.
Right. And that's a great point,
Like
too.
I was going Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Monday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and
To a prison.
To a prison, which is
right.
5 hours away, 4
Yeah.
hours away. And what they do is they intentionally, let's say in Pennsylvania, you're from Philly, they're placing you on the other side of PA. They're not making it convenient. If you're in Pittsburgh, they're placing you in Philly just so it can, cause a strain on that family relationship. And that's what I realized. It was just like, whoa, you guys are intentionally sending people to Pittsburgh. And when you can send them to this prison where their family members can drive, half an hour?
Not even that. People don't realize you drive right by it. There's a federal prison right in downtown Philly. It looks like a skyscraper. Right over there by the Mint, where they got the money. One of them other buildings right there is a prison.
Yeah, and bring me to my next point. Fremont Weedman, one of our constituents, he is actually currently locked up in Jersey at FCI Fort Dix. He's serving 16 years for cannabis. He's from Southwest Philadelphia, but 16 years just for cannabis. And in our town hall the other day, what he actually brought to my attention that I didn't realize was, he said when they actually brought him in and they charged him, it wasn't more so for the cannabis. It was more so they robbed him. Like he said, he had like 25 apartment buildings. They locked up his uncle. They locked up the cousin. So here it is. They took all the men, took all their properties, and now they're in jail for cannabis. Whereas they can't, it's like they got robbed.
This is in Philly?
This was in Philly. Yep. So he did 5 years. So, just thinking about that, like, just on top of being locked up for cannabis, they're taking all of your collateral, your cars, your house, like things that you
Worked for.
work for.
Yeah.
I want to touch on the grant part, though. Because you spoke on that about you went out and started working to go get grants. I think that's something a lot of black business people don't do enough.
I was, and can you speak to the know-how of that too? Because like you also seem like you were pretty resourceful.
Yeah.
You're talking about coming from a family with so many people who are incarcerated, but seem like you were sort of a standout.
I was like you got to think I'm the youngest, I'm the only girl, so I was like one of those kids that was so observant. So I learned from just others' mistakes. And I can read a room and I can know, like, even being in business, for 4 years with the transportation, I'm like, I'm not going to be able to scale this up. I'm going to need, like a grant or another way because this population that I'm serving, I just can't. So I actually took a grant class, and just learned just the basics of, just writing grants, things like that. So, yeah. And then you win one grant, and from there, it just.
Then it's also the races. It's like, I got to get more.
Yeah.
By the way, people will give you money just so they can get it off their taxes.
That's a fact.
Listen,
sure
rich
will.
people will give you some money to clean their taxes up.
Yep.
All you got to do is know how to write a grant.
Yep. I want to circle back to the CBD in the house. So, I guess if you can tell me why there was CBD in the house and why did you have to watch it at MJ BizCon on your ring
That's
camera?
wild to be sitting at
So
MJ BizCon.
if you guys watch the it's the intro. I put out the intro for Free My Weed Man, and the cops that was banging on the door, that was my house. So whenever you get a chance, watch the Free My Weed Man intro, and it was the cops from my door. So, like I said, I was having pot up parties for the patients, and I was selling CBD there. I went to LA. I sourced just CBD because I knew it was legal, and I would sell that, like, to people who came to my parties. And then COVID happened, the pandemic happened, and I had all these pounds. And I started doing subscription boxes. So here it is. I got all this inventory.
Creative.
I had,
Big trapper.
because I got a brand, it's called Stay Lifted.
Okay.
So Free My Weed Man is actually my second business in the cannabis, but I got Stay Lifted. And with the women who came to the pot up parties, they were buying like those little pre-rolls right there. They were buying ashtrays and all the cutesy stuff. But then pandemic happened. I had all this inventory. I'm like, what am I going to do? And I was like, all right, I'm about to put the one on Uline. I got me some boxes. So here it is. I'm building my business credit. And I started shipping the boxes, shipping the CBD to people's houses. Now, of course, in the mix of that, allegedly, it was like other like moon rocks and things like that, but like really just shipping it to people. Like people are stressed in their house. We don't know when we can come outside.
That's a fact.
And here it is. They were hitting me up like, hey, I need a box. I need a box. So that's how I had all these pounds of CBD, because I was able to like push the CBD through the boxes. So then went to court. They tested it, and it was CBD, and they threw it out. But
there's still the stress and the
I
money
was
and
about
the
to say,
pain with that.
right, but even that, it was like I still was fearful. So from then,
Hell yeah.
I didn't have an event until last Saturday. Last Saturday, I had my first event after 2 years, because I felt, I was in a space where I'm like, okay, I can do this again. Like I can start, having these type of events. I had
That is traumatizing.
I had a puff and pose last Saturday, and 119 women came out just to, consume, and it was sound bowl, healing, meditation.
Oh, that's your shit.
So,
That's your
yeah.
shit, big dog.
Yep.
You got the sample.
But even that, it shows you, that was my first event, and people were like, "Oh my God, where have you been?" And I, I had to explain to them, like, for 2 years I've been like working on a foundation for Free My Weed Man, and they're like, "Free My Weed Man is yours?" So my Stay Lifted community didn't even know that Free My Weed Man was mine, because I'm just so knee deep over here pushing this. But as I'm pushing Free My Weed Man, I'm like, I miss that community. I miss the women. Yeah. So yeah.
Well, listen, I mean,
I do a little bit of everything.
Hey.
and there's plenty of opportunity right now.
Yeah.
Like you're in a state that the opportunity is endless, and you've already started a brand. You've already been active in the community. and have a lot of connections in the space. So I think you're going to be very successful.
Well, she spoke on something else. She said, watch my intro, and that's important because intro to what?
Intro to Free My Weed Man docuseries.
Oh.
Yeah. Free My Weed Man docuseries where we interviewed, I believe, like 8 people. Just them explaining their experiences with just being criminalized by the war on drugs. So yeah, the intro.
And where they gonna be able to watch that?
Wow.
They go watch that on YouTube, but my other documentary is premiering on PBS. It's called A Woman on the Outside.
What's that about?
A Woman on the Outside is a documentary. It premiered in South by Southwest in 2022.
Y'all not ready.
Yeah, and for a year we went on a tour of just like film festivals. We won Best Documentary at the American Black Film Festival, and just recently it was acquired by PBS, and it will now be available nationwide for people to see. But a woman on the
that's big.
outside. Thank you.
That's dope.
A Woman on the Outside is really about my life story, the process of me adopting my nephew because both of his parents were incarcerated. But it just also shows the pain and everything that the women have to endure within this whole incarceration and having a loved one on the inside. So yeah, and that documentary, 6 years it was in the making.
Wow.
Yeah, so
Wow.
6 years out of my life.
You must know some really profound stories after doing that business for so long and driving back and forth. And just, you said 5-hour drive, right? I'm
5.
sure that's a lot of conversation. You have probably met with a lot of stories that are embedded with a ton of trauma, right? I do want to talk about one more thing before we go, because I love how creative you are and how you seem to, keep making these businesses not only out of solving problems, but also your own evolution. I feel like I've sort of done that on my entrepreneurial path as well. Was there anything that you were doing before you were in the entrepreneur space or the business space? Did you ever have a regular job? What did
I was
you
a
go
social
to
worker.
school for?
So I went to school
Okay.
for criminal justice. Went to school for criminal justice, but then my goal was to become a social worker. Now, while in college, my best friends, they were going to school to be a lawyer, engineers. And I'm looking at the salary, and I'm like, hold on, she gonna be making 6, I'm gonna be over here making 40. Off the bat, I'm gonna need something else.
Right.
So I ended up starting a prison dancers while I was in college, and I took my refund check. Took my refund check from college, and that's how I went to the auction and got my first van.
Wow.
So it really was just because of the company that I kept, my friends. They were dreaming, bigger, and here it is. I'm like, I just want to be a social worker. I just want to help children. But I knew that it just wasn't going to be enough. And from there, I just was like, I'm going to always have to do something. But I'm always that friend where my friends just turn to me like, can I run this idea past you? And I can expand off of it. You can tell me something, and I'm like, this is how you solve that problem.
There's a couple things that I want to take away from that. The first being is how selfless it is to not say, oh, you guys are going to be making 6 figures, I'm going to be making 40, let me pivot, to say, I'm going to stay here and just do another thing to help that. Right? Yeah, because that speaks to your clarity of what you wanted to always do. Because even though you're not a social worker now, you're still doing social work.
Right.
Yes.
The dance, I was doing social work.
Yes.
This is social work.
Yes.
Well, see, that's just who you are.
Right.
Obviously, yes.
I too took a trip with my refund check. I'm saying it was to Miami, but I too was on the road.
I took a couple of refund checks to Miami too.
Listen, that refund check used to hit.
Yes.
Shit. Catch me up in that office like, yo, my check didn't hit.
What happened? Like, where my money?
I just want to know, where is it at in the system? Sign offs.
I
Like,
took a this was when like BT was like popping,
Yeah.
and we took a tour bus down to Miami just to be in
when they used to be on the beach and do all that.
the beach
Yeah.
with my refund check.
Mess.
You know what I mean?
Mess.
That refund check hit different.
Yeah.
In college days.
Kristal, listen, this has been incredible to learn so much about the work that you're doing. It's so important. It's really important for Pennsylvania, too. I'm glad that we got to talk to somebody from PA, especially where you guys are at in the state right now. It's an incredible time for people to start having these discussions and start doing this work.
No,
Yeah.
And, check on your strong friend. Because Kristal's probably the strong friend, but she had PTSD. And,
That's the fact.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
check on your strong friend. And don't you know black women be holding it up?
Always.
I'm so happy I'm married to a black woman. But, yeah, black women be holding it down.
We
It's
do.
just different. It's different. So that
It's
was all I
just
had.
it's in us, you know.
Thank you for that plug in Women's Month because we deserve that, right?
Yes.
Yes.
I don't want to go home and get beat.
That too. I got you.
The landlord is tough.
Listen, please, folks, support Freed My Weed Man.
Buy the merch.
Now that I know, the idea behind Free My Weed Man so
Yeah.
much more clearer, like this is really a thing. Like free the fucking plant.
Free my weed, man.
Free
Listen, you got to buy the merch.
Yep.
We all got to watch PBS.
it. Yes.
You know, for this documentary, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I need to do some more. Go to that YouTube page, watch the docu-series.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Because there's the 501c3 side, and then there's the get profit side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So help Kristal get profit also.
Yeah.
I'm with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank y'all so much for just allowing me to be here with you guys. I don't know, I've been watching your journey just on Instagram, and I've just been clapping. You know, here for y'all, here to support. But guys, follow us on Instagram at Free My Weed Man. And if you're in PA, tap in with me. I am looking to organize a few rallies. We have a rally that's coming up around Juneteenth where we're going to need support on. And we also have monthly expungements, monthly town halls. So definitely just tap in with me as I build out this community.
I love it. I love it. Corey, what you got, man?
That's it. I still forgot how to end this thing. You got to do it.
Please like, comment, subscribe.
Hit the
Thank
button.
you. Come back every other week. Kelvin Cannabis. Do good. Get high.
I was about to say, stay lifted. I've been looking at her hat the whole
Stay lifted.
Stay lifted.
And free my weed then.
place.
Wait.